Up, guys. All right, so starting on GU for the outlook today, the range that we're in at the moment is a little bit tricky, and it's been a bit the way this week, to be honest. In terms of where we are, we have obviously taken this low, which is more or less retest of that bigger break there, but also a very valid demand, and is more or less the extreme of that internal leg. So, really strong point, which obviously makes sense given the reaction that we've had since we induced it, and also since inducing this point here, which is also that demand to supply, also the decision of that break there. So really good liquidity been taken, and we're seeing that a little bit with the reactions that we've gotten at the moment. But I do believe the reaction that we're seeing is more so from actually the correlation with EU. But in terms of what GU is given, so this area, of course, is the decisional of that internal break. It did take liquidity and it did also mitigate that extreme area. Now, the big thing with this, what we have is straight range, straight range, slower sell-off. Obviously, this price action in here is all just kind of dribbly since we really got past that point. So all of that price action is just dribbly. It's just kind of garbage, to be honest. There's not a lot there. What we have induced is the retest of that 5 minute break. Now, given the range in here, I don't expect this supply to hold, especially given the liquidity that we've taken here and that other point over to the left down there, that supply to demand area. We don't have enough liquidity inside of this range for me to believe this is going to hold. And I believe we're seeing that with this slower sell-off that we're getting out of here, giving more so like a smart money trap reaction. Now, I would want to buy it, but to be honest, I'm probably more so going to be looking into sells, into buys. I think we may actually get a reasonable reaction out of this point to come and take that low to bring in enough liquidity, as I don't think the take of this is going to be enough to push us up through this point given the bearish momentum. However, the divergence with EU may counter that and cause it to push up. What I'm open to though in terms of selling, obviously I'd like to keep following the bearish momentum, selling momentum if I can. What we have here is a demand to supply area, obviously, which has pushed us down to take out this point. Now, if we are going to follow with the structure cycle and this whole area, really like that leg there, even really that whole leg, if that's going to be a smart money trap and we are going to go against this structure cycle, this demand area will need to bring in liquidity. Now, our next medium inducement is the inducement of that demand to supply area. Obviously, we're in the first high outside of Asia as well. I'm happy to use it as a medium inducement. So if we can slow down a little bit as we go up to take it, I'm happy to sell off the take of that. Now, the better place to look for sells would be up here. Now, I'm open to buying up to it. The problem with buying it is I don't really have a lot to buy from. Um, we could work with something like this area as a smart money trap. It just makes it a little bit tricky. If we just sweep Asia high and don't take this high, and we get like a little bit of a sell-off, something like that, I'll be happy to work with that as a smart money trap, or whatever else we sort of get to be able to get some manipulation out of here to buy through and target that medium inducement and potentially target the inducement of that supply, as I don't actually think that supply is going to hold. Just makes it a little bit tricky given we haven't got a lot to work with. But this is a good take in itself, and this structure isn't too shabby. We'll just see, obviously, yeah, what it wants to do. If we do get the take of this high, get that sell off, and I'm not able to catch a sell, we've got a little point here that I'm happy to work with as a smart money trap, or potentially anything else that we may form on this run up. If we get something like, I can even use like that, or if we get something here out of this area, if we get like a little bit of a sell off here, push up, come down, I'm happy to use that as a smart money point if I can't get in straight off the reversal. So see what it wants to do. But yeah, G's structure isn't really helping us. Now, the divergence that I was talking about with EU comes from the 4 hour. Now, obviously, we're bearish, right? We're bearish higher time frame here. We are bullish here, though. Um, so, we can push bullish. What we've come into, so obviously we came out of this point, got that reaction, right? And since getting that retracement inside of that leg, we're now starting to get the sell-off. So, we're caught between like much higher time frame and now like hourly 4 hour. on what it wants to do. But we have obviously pushed to this point. We've taken that retest, we've taken this supply to demand area, and now we're mitigating this whole 4 hour leg here. So if this area is going to be a smart money trap, it very well can push us up. And I'd expect it to more or less at least give like a two leg out of here. So see what it wants to do, but it has broken to the upside, so that may be enough. But if we are going to drive up a bit more from here, I believe it's because of obviously that point there and the significance that it holds. Doesn't hold too much significant, but I'd expect it to completely turn us around bullish, but could cause us to have a bit of a bullish push just to obviously get that smart money reaction. Now, to counter that, what we've had on EU, really, really nice demand to supply area, obviously decisional of that break, very valid supply. We've induced that into the mitigation of our last 5 minute point, which also took liquidity. And now we're starting to get that sell off from here. So looking to follow with that bearish structure cycle that we've got playing out, which obviously is part of the reason I'm open to looking for sells on GU. Now we've come down into this extreme area here, which did break the internal, failed to break the external, and now we've had break, retest, inducement of retest, break, retest, which sits around that 50% of Asia, and is also a little bit of like a demand to supply area. So what I'm looking for is for this area here to be a smart money trap. We have generated some liquidity here, which I don't love, but we're getting quite nice bearish order flow. If we can pull up from here, get the mitigation of like this area, induce that retest, 50% of Asia, happy to utilize that as a medium inducement, get that sell off, follow with that bearish momentum, targeting this point, and obviously the further sell following with that higher time frame bearish narrative that we've got playing out there. So that's all I'm really looking for on EU. Now, given we have had this break here, if we do work our way down and take out that low, I'm open to buying that low, especially if we've got that liquidity built up across the top up there like that, which is looking quite nice at the minute. The other side of it, if we do drive bullish from here, we are inside of that leg externally. I'm happy to sell off the inducement of that supply. So see what it wants to do. We'll go from there. If we do obviously take this, can't catch a sell here, and we have like a smart money point, of course, we can look for some sort of reaction out of it and get that sell off there. So we'll gauge it. We'll see what it wants to do. I think it needs to come up a little bit higher first. Yeah, more so going to be expecting, especially given the point that GU is reacting from, more so expecting like a bit of a manipulation sell here before we come and take some liquidity to potentially continue selling. So a little bit of a waiting game, but we are sitting in not too bad of a spot.